Good morning. How is everybody doing? We're switching it up today. I found something I want to fight. Since I want to fight it, I want to make a video about it. By making a video about it, not only am I doing self therapy on it, but I'm giving you a glimpse into how it works. At least for me, this is my philosophy channel. These are my thoughts on the world. It is my reflection. I want to talk about fear. Fear is a good one. I just got caught up in fear for like 10 days. Oh, man. There's been a thing going on in my life. Well, really, it ain't stopped. And I've been dealing with it. And it's only recently that I've realized that it's only the fear that is stopping me from fixing it. And I had to identify the fear before I could deal with it. I don't think I'm going to go into the particulars of it. Just know that the fear stemmed from PTSD, really bad PTSD. Really bad. So bad that I didn't even realize how it was affecting my life. And it doesn't mean I have it under control. And that's the point of this video, is you can't get fear under control. Anybody who says they're not afraid is a liar. This is my opinion. It's what you do with fear. It's what you do. So first, let's identify it. Are you being kind? How dumb, right? But it's serious. Are you being kind? Are you relaxed? Are you able to clearly think about the situation that's in front of you? If the answer is no to any of those, you got a fear going on. You got fear going on in your life. This is a big one, right? This idea of fear. Let me tell you what I do when I get afraid of stuff. I attack it. They say that secondary emotion, anger, comes from fear. They don't say that when you get angry, you can use it to identify what the problem is. They just say the fact you got angry is the problem. You ever notice that the people that say that your anger is the problem are usually the people that are part of the actual problem? You ever notice that? I have this weird suspicion that anger isn't bad. I agree that completely in anger you can make terrible decisions. But anger is just a state of mind. You have to act on it. You have to go beyond being angry. You have to act out in anger. There's a difference. And somehow, in this day and age, any kind of anger immediately puts you into you're wrong. And somehow, you should learn meekly to accept all the bad things that happen to you and deal with them to the best of your ability. I ain't never dealt with nothing unless I was pissed off about it. That's true. In fact, I don't even think something's a problem unless it upsets me, right? It's weird. It's almost like anger itself is the reaction to shitty things happening in the world. It's almost like that's true instead of your emotional response of even feeling angry is what we need to work on and you need to go to therapy for. They never talk about justifiable anger because They don't believe that you can get angry and do something positive, because their belief system and what anger itself is the limiting factor that it doesn't allow anyone to actually heal from anything. You forget about a situation until you're done being angry about it? Nope. How does a secondary emotion carry all the first memory aspects if it's secondary? Shouldn't fear carry all the memories? How does anger carry all the memories? How does anger keep us in a position to want to do something about something we find unjust? Even if it isn't. But how do we change anything if we're not willing to do something about it based on our emotional reaction? Now, what you do with your emotional reaction, that's a bunch of videos that I've made. How you interact with the world, there's a whole thought process that I have on that one. But I don't have this idea that anger is a bad thing. I have an idea that anger is a shield, that we use anger not to express our fears. I understand that. But have you ever just told somebody what you're afraid of? Do you know what they do? They look down on you. They don't care. There's no empathy for how you feel. There's only empathy if you act in a way that they can call you out for. It's not whether or not they're even right. It's just whether or not they have some kind of written rule or words or thought process that allows them to say that you are less than you are based on XYZ. Why is it the thing that makes us defensive against things that make us fearful the problem? Why isn't the bad thing that actually happened the problem? I think good people get angry. I think good people get fed up with bad nonsense. I think that that's really how it works. I'd love to hear you argue with me about it. I'd love to hear some psychologists chime in and explain to me how their 10% understanding of the brain and how it works makes up their 100% truth of why I'm wrong in some way. I love those kind of conversations. I love using the idea of thought to argue thought. But fear itself, I think fear can be combated with anger. I think that if something makes you fearful, if nothing else, and this is how I operate, if it makes me afraid, I immediately put on my armor of anger and I'm untouchable. You're not going to tell me to calm down. You're not going to tell me to use less words. You're not going to tell me anything because I know something is wrong. And no matter your lack of understanding into the situation you think matters, if it's not your situation, your opinion is irrelevant. That's why I like to have conversations about things. That's why I like to double down about this being my opinion and thought processes. Because it's open to interpretation and it's open to change. I like to live my life that way. What I don't like to live like is that I'm afraid of anything. I don't like to live like that. Nobody gets to make me afraid. And usually this works perfectly for me. Perfectly. You can think what you want. Maybe you've met me, maybe you haven't. But once I get mad, anybody that knows me knows that I'm fitting to fix that situation. I am fitting to have a conflict immediately right now about what is wrong or I perceive is wrong. And I got a pretty good moral compass. Pretty good. I'm kind of proud of myself as who as I am as a human being. How I think, how I interact, what I'm willing to do or not to do, what evil I'm willing to allow happen in the world around me. I won't even let you cuss out a woman in front of me. Go ahead and give her a go. Get cussed out. Get in a fist fight. Do whatever it is that you need to do, but you're just not going to disrespect women in front of me. It's just not going to happen. Not putting up with it. I think anger is a good way to transfer fear. I think it's transference. I think if you're afraid of something, like someone threatens you, we're just going to use this as an example. Someone physically threatens you and it's in your face, and it makes you afraid, and it makes you angry that this man's trying to intimidate you. So you haul off and you beat the dog brakes off this dude. And now he's afraid of you. Until he heals that afraid of you, it's not going to get fixed. And if he hits somebody else in that fear, it's just going to transfer again. Fear is really good at finding the highest point to flow to, just like electricity. And you have to understand the situation itself, as it were. So I don't think transferring fear is the way to go. I don't think physical violence is the answer unless in defense of yourself or those you love or those that can't defend themselves. You're never going to convince me that I'm wrong on that one. Never. So, how do we fight fear? Love. That's how you fight everything. I don't know what makes you afraid in this world. I don't. I don't know what it is that you find difficult to rationally think about. I can't express that to you. You have your own fears. I can tell you that they only exist in your mind. Unless you're doing things that are messed up. If you're messing up in life and your fear is that you're going to get caught, I hope you get caught. I don't even feel bad about it. Certain laws, certain things, I don't care if you get caught. And there's a bunch of boys in jail that when you get there and they see your paperwork, sucks to be you. But I've already been to jail, so I'm not afraid of jail. I've already had people lie on my name, so I'm not afraid of people lying on my name. And I've had people hate on me for every last social construct that you can think of that I don't fit into. I've already been through all those. That doesn't make me afraid. None of those things make me afraid. Being alone doesn't make me afraid. I love being alone. But when I think of kids being hurt, when I think of women's being hurt, when I get afraid that that's a possibility, well, I attack it with love. See, the first thing I do when I meet a guy that wants to hit a woman, I don't confront him. I ask her if she's okay. I provide emotional support. I step right into the situation in between the two of them and express my concern for her well being. I don't ever just walk up, knock a dude out. I let him initiate the violence. I have rules that I play by. You got to put your hands on me first. I'm very good at instigating you putting your hands on me first. It's real easy. And then I justify the anger. See how bad that is? I'm sure a psychologist would say that I'm a terrible human being. But in the last 8 years, I only put hands on one person. And it was a junkie passed out in a house where there was a woman and a child, and he was not supposed to be there. And the father wasn't anywhere near the home. And he called me and said, "Bro, there's a junkie in my house, and I really need them gone. My wife and my child are home." I'll bounce that dude. Not bad enough to like kill him or incapacitate him or send him to the hospital. Just whooped his ass. He ain't been back by that house since. He ain't harassed that woman or that child since. Nobody in the court system would have done anything about it. But if I have this mindset that I'm willing to do violence, that I'm willing to protect people, and yet I've only had to actually do violence once in the last 8 years. Once. And only because there was no other way to approach a situation or to deal with it. I'd say I'm right. I'd say the psychologist can eat the fat one. I'd say that my mindset of being willing to protect women and children is what's needed in the world. And I think that's the end of the story. I think that fear shows us where we can be heroic, where we can be the hero, where we can make the difference in a random person's life that mattered. Sometimes it's just a matter of walking up and be like, bro, you're not going to hit her again. I'm going to call the cops right now. I'm not a cop caller, but I'll call the cops right now, bro. You ain't put another hand on her. Fuck you. No, fuck you, bro. You ain't shit. You're a pussy. And then they swing. Didn't have to call the cops, did I? I do believe that as a society, we have a need for laws. I believe we have a need for law enforcement. I believe we have a need for the court system. I believe that these are necessities in the world so we don't have a bunch of crazy people just doing crazy shit. I believe in that. I don't believe that anybody is currently in our court systems is qualified to run it. I don't believe that our country is currently being run by qualified individuals. I don't believe that the laws and the way that they're set up are in the interest of the people, for the people, by the people. I don't believe any of those things. I believe that it's possible and I believe in the concepts of them, but they're not working. If they were working, our society would not currently be where it's at. It's just cause and effect. If it's not working, but you tell me I have to stay within certain lines and people are being hurt because of it, at some point you have to realize the laws themselves are the problem. I heard this guy recently was talking about it. Did a long time in prison. Bad dude. Decided to give back. And he had this idea, and I have to share it. I'm not going to share his name. I'm not putting it out there. I don't do clout chasing. I couldn't care less. But this man had a great idea, and it's coming on this channel right now. What if when you went to prison, there was no prison sentences? What if when they sent you to prison, you messed up and they go, okay, you're in prison until you fix it? And instead of prison being how much time you did in the probation and whether or not you messed up, if every person that we decided had to be removed from society, we spent the money and time on their programs and they could do them. They could sit in there for their whole sentence if they wanted, which is indefinitely, or they get their shit together and get out. And if it takes you a year to understand why you're in jail was a problem and how to fix it and keep going and fix it, cool. If it took you 20 years and you never got out over jaywalking because you decided to be a tough guy and start stabbing people as soon as you got to prison, cool. But what if we gave healing back to people? What if instead of being afraid of people that get locked up, they were the people that got the extra attention? I don't care you're on welfare, you have a sexual orientation, fuck all your rights. Let's give them all to the prisoners. And if the prisoners don't get the same rights you get, quit complaining about it. Because those are actually the people that need the help the most. Or those that have been locked up, left behind, made decisions in their life because life was unmanageable. Not whether or not your feelings are more important. I don't care. Not at all. You're a human being. And I think it's really time that because we have so much fear of human beings, we took the time to invest in human beings again. I think we should be throwing social constructed programs and ideas at prisons left and right. I think there should be I think they should have an open forum for human beings to write down what's helped them to try to come up with new programs to help prisoners. See how you fight fear with love? It's in the details. And if you can see the details of what you fear, then you can get angry enough about doing something about it. Anger is perfectly acceptable when you get afraid. As long as the anger isn't getting caught, as long as the anger isn't you doing wrong. If you're doing wrong, there's a whole bunch of different videos on this channel for you. Help you figure it out, give you another perspective. But if you're doing right and people are making you afraid, go get them.